So with these interviews, I always want to speak to people who really creatively inspire me. And Jacob Y is someone who just really does that. He's done loads of really big things in the dance world. He's done ballet on Peaky Blinders. He's done loads of really big music videos. And he's just had such an impressive career and done loads of really cool things. So I really wanted to speak to him, ask him a few questions. So here it is. So today I'm joined by Jacob, who worked with my group a lot on the Commonwealth Games opening ceremony. So I'm very excited to get to talk to you because I feel like I've learned so much from doing rehearsals with you.
Oh,
Like when we were doing rehearsals, my notes app was just filled with things that you'd
oh,
said
really?
and lessons that I'd learned. Um,
Good.
so I really wanted to ask you about some of that because I learned so much from you. Firstly, what I learned a lot from you was that like I'd learned dance syllabuses before, but I hadn't really learned about connecting dance with emotion and connecting movement to emotion. And that's something that I really learned from you. So I wanted to ask how your process was that and how you approached that because I heard you said before about how each movement's like the release of an emotion. So how do you work towards communicating that story through dance?
So once I came to this kind of conclusion maybe about 3, 4 years ago in my last year at Rombert that everything needed intention because I think prior to that I was thinking from a much more um, technical mindset when approaching movement. But then I started to watch more. I started to, start to play around with like my own stuff. And then I realized what really encaptured me as an audience member, particularly, was when everything felt like nothing was left to chance, that everything had strong intention and had an emotion to it. Yeah. And I think it's a lot to do with dynamic variation as well. I think that can be tied and has direct correlation with emotion.
And what would you say your process is? Because I know you do a lot of choreography as well. And I was just wondering, because I've been asked in auditions sometimes, like, what is your process? And I feel like you'd have quite an interesting process.
Oh, process specifically, in terms of making movement and making a
Yeah.
piece. I think a lot of the time it starts with improvisation. It's always nice to work with other people just to get a sense of what feels good, what looks good, because I think as soon as you open something up to a larger perspective, to a wider perspective, it instantly clarifies your own. So I think it's good to bounce ideas off with other people as well. Obviously, music is a big one. I think art has recently been inspiring me. Like I've been to like a lot of galleries. I went to one called the Icon in Birmingham the other day, which is quite nice. Um, yeah, I read. I'm reading a book as well by Rick Rubin. It just says like the way of the artist is that you walk around and everything you see is like an opportunity. I'm paraphrasing, but this is kind of the mindset of the artist and the creative that anything can inspire you just from your day to day.
I've seen as well that you've done a lot of music videos. So I just wanted to ask how you get involved with them. Like, what's that process?
So music videos, that's just Instagram, really, to be
Really?
honest. That's just someone messaging me on like on the DM, just reaching out saying, "Oh, would you be available?" One of
Really?
them, yeah, one of them was my friend who was choreographing, well, like an old colleague, and then the other was just yeah, like another choreographer just reached out. So
So you feel like you get a lot of the work from the connections that you've made then?
100%, all my work is from networks. Yeah, all the work
Yeah.
that I think I've ever got is from partly knowing someone. That's not to say that I can't do the job, but it definitely helps knowing someone before you do it, you know.
Then with rehearsals for music videos and the time that you get to film, how's that all work? Like how long do you have? What's the process of it?
A day or two, you learn the steps and then you're on set, and that's it, really. It's music videos specifically are the shortest processes that I've ever been a part of. I'm not sure if it was always like this, but it's definitely become like very limited. People have no time to create with the dancers, or maybe I'm just coming in towards the end of a process
Yeah.
where people have already done the R&D. Because sometimes they come with videos and they're just showing us material like, oh, we want to do something like this, or we want to do exactly this. So yeah, it's become in terms of like being the performer, if you're not in the creative team,
Yeah.
if it's what you mean, like if you're just the performer, you're kind of in there last minute. Yeah.
Really? So they've got an idea already planned out of what they want and everything. And then,
Generally, or they're just making it on the fly and they just trust their instinct. Yeah.
and then you've done such a range of things in your career. You've done Peaky Blinders, Commonwealth Games. So how much of your career is stuff that you've planned and goals that you've set, and how much of it is just being open to opportunities?
Oof, that's a good question. These are good questions. Um,
Difficult question.
yeah. This one is, I think you always have to be open. Like I've always tried to
Yeah.
be as open as possible. But as time goes on, I realized that if you leave everything just open to opportunity, then the universe and the world kind of decides your path for you, which is
Yeah.
not really 100% what I'm going for. Commonwealth was a great opportunity because I wanted to become I wanted to live on the management side of dance a bit
Yeah.
more and backstage, not just in the studio. So that was a good time, a good chance to explore that avenue. So I was really excited to do that. Peaky Blinders was just my boss at the time was like, I think you'd be good for this. So I was like, sure. Because it was whilst I was at Rombe and it was
Yeah.
just, so we went away for a few days. Yeah, and filmed and came back really. We had a couple of rehearsals where he taught some stuff, but yeah, again, it was a very brief process, that one. Commonwealth obviously was not brief at all. It was
No.
6 months long for us. But yeah, that I think let's go back to your original question. I think now, again, particularly in the past couple years, I think my general how can I put this? I'm just trying to be a bit more streamlined with my energy and just be a bit more purposeful. Like with the steps, like with putting intention and emotion to steps, it's the same thing with my life. I think I'm just narrowing it a little bit. I think I'm still open to things. It's not a specific like job or
Yeah.
title that I'm going for necessarily, but I definitely I'm clearer in which direction and who I want to work with particularly.
Oh, really? Is that more of a goal than who you want to work with than what you want to do?
To be honest, yeah, because I realize this is the biggest effect on me in terms of my creative output and the quality of my work is who I'm around. So
Yeah.
if I can just be around the highest quality people or people that just inspire me, then the work is better. I'm happier. Everybody's happier, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And about the Commonwealth Games, what do you feel like you learned from that process and what surprised you maybe? Was it what you were expecting?
It was not what I was expecting. The workload was huge.
Was it?
The workload was huge, and I was not mentally prepared for that at all. Um, it was so much more than I imagined it would be. Um, I knew there would be things outside of the studio, but I didn't realize
Yeah.
the amount of hours that it would take to actually complete certain tasks. Like, well, yeah, like filling movement Bibles, just organizing sessions. I guess it's stuff which is to be expected, but I think because of the sheer number of people that we were working with, it just kept like piling on, piling on. So it went really into like the late hours of the evening, working on our own stuff, preparing. And we were up at 8 and heading there by 9, coming back at like 10 or something crazy. Yeah, they were long days. They were long days. I think the biggest thing that I began to learn then is to be comfortable in the uncomfortable because
Yeah.
constantly I was out of my comfort zone.
Were
Um,
you? You seem very calm, very comfortable. You're bringing that energy to everyone.
that was my purpose. That's what I was going for. But inside it was a lot. Was I had never worked with that amount of people before. I
Yeah.
taught a few classes and I wanted to be able to do that, what I was doing, but really it was trial by fire, to be honest. I was really in the deep end.
Well,
Um,
I think you did really good and you brought everyone together.
that's very nice of you to say. Thank you so much.
It's quite an unusual kind of event because I don't think there's many things on that scale, is there?
Yeah, it's like I think obviously the Commonwealth comes back, but apart from that, it's like the Olympics and there's
Yeah.
other there's ceremonies. So a couple of the people who had worked on a few ceremonies before, so on my team, on the choreo team, a few people had worked on things where this number was common, but I think even they found that specific event uh, a challenging one. I don't know why. I think maybe location was quite interesting as well.
And then with your dance, I feel like dance, even though people think it's quite physical, a lot of it is about mentality and you can experience a lot of mental blocks. I know I do when I'm doing dance. So I was wondering how you approach that.
Um, Mental blocks. Just keep moving. Next, go on to the next thing. Just keep going. I think that's really a big key is not to get stuck on a specific thing. So say if you're working on a phrase, you come to the end, and as soon as I start to feel like this, like what's it? No, next. Just keep moving. Because I think that that kind of giving into that block and the doubt that can come with it, I think
Yeah.
is just an easy way to spiral. So if possible, just change the environment, change what you're doing, listen to something different, just like mix it up just to shift the tone dynamically, emotionally, just to mix it up. You know,
And what do you think your dance career has taught you so far?
what's my dance career taught me?
Because you've done so much. Like, you seem very impressive career-wise.
I will agree with that. I've done a lot. Like I've done a lot. Like I have. Um, I've done a lot of things that I'm proud of in terms of my career.
Yeah.
I think every job, every situation has brought its own unique challenges. But I think the one thing that it has taught me is that things will always continue and things will always change. And I think it sounds obvious, but it's solidified in my head now that there's always another thing. There's always something else to go towards in life. And it like this is beyond dance, I think. There's
Yeah.
just always something else. So no matter where you are, whether you like it or not, there's always another place. Do you know what I mean? And it actually does come because I think it's something that we like to. When people tell us, we're like, oh yeah, sure, sure, sure. But when you live through so many like varied experiences, I think then it just makes you realize that you're like, oh yeah, that is just life. Like, it's just always going to be different, basically.
And speaking of one specific job, I was watching that interview and rehearsal demonstration of the limit that you did, which combined acting and dance. So how was that like, and what did that teach you? Because it seems like such a unique kind of project.
Yeah, that was amazing. As a project and as an outcome, that was brilliant. That's probably been the most inspiring in terms of work for me recently. It was so inspiring because it did feel like very new in terms of pushing, delivering text and performing so much. Because obviously, Crystal Pike Kid Pivot stuff is incredible. And I'm literally watching what's it called Betroffenheim now, on Marquee TV, and she's an amazing choreographer who works heavily in the theatre dance world. So you have people like miming a lot of the script, and then they're going full out with movement as well, like matching. But I think what made our project different was that we were literally actually delivering the lines, and the relationship between text and movement was quite different. It wasn't such a direct correlation. But gosh, that was a process because I hadn't really worked with script before.
How do you
And it
not?
was no, and it was a two-hander. So it was just me and Hannah Rudd,
Yeah.
on stage for an hour, just me and her delivering text and dancing. It was very intense, very intense.
It's
Um,
almost like there was two separate parts to it, the movement and like they ran alongside each other almost, but also they're separate because there's the dance element and movement element, and there's
mm,
also text, and it's quite a naturalistic kind of play. It's based off lemons,
yeah, yeah.
lemons.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean because it was trying to capture this naturalism with the abstract
Yeah,
of contemporary dance, which and I love that paradox because I'm a big enthusiastic. I'm a big enthusiast on eclecticism, is that what you'd say? On being eclectic and having productions which are multidisciplinary and
yeah,
slightly contrasting, weirdly juxtaposed, but it always makes it kind of interesting. So yeah, that was very challenging. Learning the script was one thing because lines were new, but then
yeah,
to do movement which didn't feel like it necessarily initially clicked in. Once it made sense, it all
yeah.
made sense. But it was really like one of these ones. big challenge. We spent hours just going over our script, just going over to make sure it was in us. And then sometimes we try and learn and do the movement as well. It was, yeah, there was so much. There was so much. It was
Do you,
great. It was great. Like a
yeah.
huge learning curve. Yeah.
Do you feel like your emotion from your dance helped you approach a script? Because I feel like I do acting mainly, but I also have done a little bit of dance, and I feel like there's a little bit of a match with that.
100%. This is what I found through the process. It's what I kept saying to Ed Madden, the director. It's what got me so excited. And he would be laughing sometimes because I'd be so excited on the direct parallels between the intention of steps to the intention of lines and how a subtle shift in how you approach a step could completely change the emotional value. And it's the
Yeah,
same with the script. Like there was this great line, well, not a great line, but it was a line that was he said, oh, maybe we should just create a whole load of new abbreviations that halves our output. So he's talking about, I don't know how much you know about the script or the play, but they're talking about how to be most efficient when the word count comes in because the government are about to implement a word count on everybody. So you can only say a certain amount of words a day. And they're trying to work out how to be most effective. And so they want to create loads of new abbreviations. He says, oh, yeah, how about we just create a whole load of new abbreviations that halves our output? And Ed told me that if you put the emphasis on that, it completely changes it. So he says, how about we create a whole load of new abbreviations? That halves our output. And like just something as simple as that, I was like, oh my gosh, completely changed it for me.
yeah,
And I was like, wow. And obviously, this is probably like a standard thing for you if you learn acting. But for me, it was revolutionary because I haven't really used my words like that in on stage particularly. But he also said that he doesn't like to give direct corrections. Usually, it's feeling, but that particular one, he's like, I just want to try this, just as a one-off. I was like, yeah, sure. It blew my mind. I was so glad he did it.
yeah. I
Mm.
think it was so interesting. I learned some things about acting as well through watching the rehearsal because I think it's so interesting how your character in that open rehearsal thing was told to really like pretend that you're not getting it and you're not understanding what she's trying to say. Like I think playing with the script like that really creates a whole load of like new dynamics because otherwise you can get quite strict with yourself. But I really learned in my acting training to find the game in the script.
The game in the script, that's a good one.
Like find the game in it and like play with it a lot more.
Oh, that's nice. I guess that keeps it alive as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really nice.
And do you have any advice to share or any advice that you've been given that's really helped you?
I think I would say just to really listen to your voice and as in your inner voice and really just follow that because a lot of the time, instinctively, we know what we should do. If we can quiet the noise around us, then like how we move and how we approach things, whether it be dance, acting, life decisions, whatever, if we really quiet the noise and just listen and not try and take too much advice from other people, ironically,
Yeah.
I think I think we can get closer to becoming content and satisfied with our decisions, basically, no matter what the outcome is.
Yeah, I think so. You shared something on your Instagram once like that. What is it? That phrase, like if you something, was it if you live for the wind, you'll die from
Ah,
that one? What is it?
yeah, fair play.
What
Yeah.
what is the exact
Oh,
phrase?
what is that? Oh, I cannot remember. But I remember posting this, but I don't remember what it exactly was. If we live for the, oh my gosh, no. If we,
If we live for the I know
oh
what it
no.
means, but I don't remember the exact phrase. If
Oh
we
gosh.
live for the winds, you would die by the booze.
Oh yeah, nice. Nice one. Oh my gosh, that's so. Oh my gosh, where did I hear that? Yeah, that is 100%. I mean, I need to remember that specifically so I can just say it because that's 100% how I live my life. Because I feel
Yeah,
like I've been criticized so much as we all have as artists But I feel like, personally, I've been criticized so much for like how I've approached dance or whatever I've done in my training that I think it built up such a, well, now that everybody's singing praises, it doesn't, I don't feel so fluctuating, because I don't really mind when someone says it doesn't really work or if it is, that's not it,
Yeah.
Jake. Well, we don't really care because it didn't affect me anyway. And look, and all the things that you can do in your life by getting booed half your life. Do you know what I mean? I think that's where it came from for me. But yeah, I try not to get too gassed when people are like, "Yeah, you're doing so well." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think
Try
so,
and keep
because
it.
otherwise you end up like, I think it's good to have your own journey and your own sense of peace and validation for yourself that's not
Yeah,
like affected, and not put your ego in the work, like take the feedback on board
yeah,
and
yeah,
not
yeah,
take it.
yeah, definitely. Because it's your choice what you take from people, isn't it? It's fully
Yeah.
your choice. Like like something's gonna be just chatting rubbish, but then other things will just resonate. That's such a good phrase. I forgot that one.
That seems like such a stalkery thing. I just like to do my research and plan. Why do I know your phrases better than you?
Yeah, I know. That one-time post on Instagram. Like,
And finally, do you have anything you want to promote or share?
where am I going next? Going to Paris next, but I guess if people are in Paris, come watch the show. Me and Liam Francis are putting on something there in June from the 12th to the 13th to the 15th or something like this, 13th to the 16th. Yeah, so we'll be performing there. Just starting up a new creative consultancy called 9 Point, which is going to be for any production that you want somebody of brilliant creative ability, I'd be able to bring a team of like-minded, incredible inputs, basically. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for doing it.
Great. Thank you so much.
So some of the things that me and Jacob talked about will be linked below. So if you want to check out more about them and learn a bit more about that, there's your opportunity to do that. And I'd like to say thank you again so much to Jacob for taking the time to do this, because I appreciate he has a lot on. He's a very busy man, so I really appreciate having the opportunity to speak to him and learn from him. And thank you so much to everyone for watching.